William Haggis is an absolute genius.
We had plenty of winners. Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM, with myself, Kate Tracey, Dave Young and Andrew Mount, to look ahead to a plethora of action from Haydock, from Ascot and from Kempton on the all-weather as well. The all-weather might just be that pivotal part then of it, as the rain has really hit the country all across it. And we're watching scenes in the background then of Salisbury, that wasn't Lingfield as well, and the rain has really hit down. So Haydock, it's going to be fascinating to see. But before we get into the action, just a reminder of how we did last week, because we did have a few non-runners, but more importantly, we had plenty of winners, including Andrew's nap and my nap. Andrew won on the nap sake because his nap, Good Earth, went in at 7-1, mine at 13-8, but I'll still take it at this stage. And then the boys were all aboard the Rom-Com Express in the 150 at Sandown. Glenn Finian was well supported. Still has speed with a healthy 13-2. So moving into September with a bit of momentum. And also great to see so many of you commenting on the video. So a big thank you to that and for getting involved as ever. And just a reminder to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. So much more, of course, coming your way. So 9 ITV races to get stuck into, 6 handicaps, and then 3 group races as well. So we're going to begin at Haydock or Haddock with the 150 in the Group 3 Superior Mile, 3-year-olds and over 1 mile. Andrew, which hunter is in here? Are you siding with him or not?
I'm not, actually. That was surprised our regular listeners and viewers.
Goodness me.
I'm going to go with Holloway Boy, despite the fact that he's 0 from 12 since scoring enlisted company on his debut at Ascot a couple of years ago. He's incredibly consistent, and horses who prep for this Group 3 contest in handicap company have got a good record. You make a profit backing those. This one was 3rd at York behind Thunder Run last time, albeit from a good draw. And I just thought he's going to run his race. Now, I took a flyer a few days ago and bet him each way at 12-1 with the 3 places, with the risk of doing my money if he didn't line up. There's only 7 runners now. So for those of you who are not on, I mean, maybe shop around, see if there are any firms on the day who go 3 places, even though there's only 7 runners, or perhaps look at those firms who offer markets on to finish exactly 2nd or finish exactly 3rd, and maybe sort of, you know, back him, to fill one of those 2 places. I can see him going 2nd or 3rd again. He looks like he's up in class, but because he did run in Chaldean's 2000 Guineas, of course, on his 2023 debut. You know, it wasn't a massive price for that, 18-1. He has placed in Group 3 company previously, so I don't think he's out of place in this company. So Holloway Boy to finish into 3 for me. Probably 2nd though.
Probably 2nd, but there is 3 places on offer though, BetMGM and each way, plus 7 runners, but 3 places on offer. Holloway Boy for Andrew, Dave.
Yeah, so that 12th one that Andrew got's been massively helped with the fact that we've got no Mal Jumina, have we? He was going to be coming in as probably a strong favourite. He would have been a likely strong selection for me.
Well, I thought you were going to say he'd be the lay of the day, Dave. He's got it in the game, hasn't he?
I mean, I don't know. They're optimistic about him, aren't they? But the fact
They've been optimistic about him since 1972.
Still clinging to that Royal Ascot run. Still clinging.
Well, that unlucky one when he didn't win.
Yeah, but he clung to the rail. Yeah.
But this is the beautiful thing of being able to trust yourself with the trainers and the jockeys, right? That they make the right decisions. They know whether a horse is going to win or not. So if you do have these non-runners for races that you thought they had a good chance in, they're saving you money by not putting in there. It makes this a really fascinating contest as well, because on weight-adjusted racings, there's only £4 that splits the 7 runners in this field. But after Glenfinnan last week, viewers will be happy to know that I agree with Andrew that Holloway Boy is the way to bet in this race. Obviously, we touched on the weather side of things. I've got Newton Lewillows in my phone. It doesn't look like there's any rain about for Haydock, but it is Haydock. It basically is just like a spring, isn't it? So there might be some out there, but I think it looks like a relatively dry forecast for him. Cicero's Gift, I think a couple of pounds better off than when beating Holloway Boy in that Sandown handicap, but he wouldn't have preferred the ground that was run there at Sandown. He'll prefer the way the ground's going to be in here. When there's ground description of better than good to soft, he's got a first, that one first that Andrew talked about. And we know he's only had that 1 win, but he's had a second, third, fourth, fifth, third. The 5th was in a big field race as well. He's got Buick up top, so I think it looks like they mean business in here. I could talk about plenty in here, but obviously we've got 9 to get through, so I won't keep going with it. The one that was frightening me a little bit was Regal Reality with Ryan Moore up top. Interestingly, though, Ryan hasn't actually won up this horse when he's run at 1 mile. He won over 1.5 miles with him. They've stepped up and tripped the last few runs, haven't they? I think he is just a genuine good miler. So he would be the chief threat. But at 9 years old and Holloway Boy being that 4-year-old that I think has got a good opportunity to win here, I'm siding with Andrew and Holloway Boy.
Both of you two then on the Holloway Express this time around. So good way to kickstart. What did you say your weather app was called, Dave?
Well, no, it's AccuWeather, but Newton Le Willows is the race course, isn't it?
Yeah. I use the XC weather primarily, and that's got a dry spell for Haydock between now and Saturday, and strong winds as well on Thursday and Friday. So if the good to soft is accurate, it could be sort of genuinely good by post time, I would have thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
26 degrees Friday, it reckons it gets as well, and 23 on Saturday. So I might go to Newton Le Willows for the weekend.
Oh, I see. Sorry. I thought that was the name of your app for a second. I was like, that is a very unique name.
That's the name of his cat.
Yeah. It's cute. Okay, so dry forecast then for Haydock, which could still mean anything. Like you say, it could be 26 degrees forecast and sunshine and still end up soft somehow. But Haydock, though, we will keep an eye on that, of course, then on Thursday and Friday as well. Right, let's move to Ascot then for the 135. This is a handicap for 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs. Really wide open one in this one. The Wizard of Eye is the one who is heading the way, Dave. So who did you like?
Not the Wizard of Eye, but it's same. It's like similarly with Witch Hunter, innit? I associate Witch Hunter with Andrew, and I associate the Wizard of Eye with Andrew. So we'll be keen to know what he thinks of this race. But I think we've only had one placed favourite since 2019 in this race, and I can't remember a winning favourite of this race. So not that that's going to necessarily make a difference every single year, but it does just go to show that it might not be the type of race that is targeted as hard as some other handicaps are in here. I think Blueprints is definitely weighted to uphold the form with beating Misinformation when it beat that one at Goodwood. Ran well last time out, but that was at Goodwood again. Wasn't likely to run well at Ascot when it was, I think it was a 22 to 1 point running in the Pavilion Stakes. That was at 6 furlongs. Should improve for the look round, more to like at 7 to 1, but there's 7 furlongs, sorry, but there's, I don't know, one of these sort of handicaps where I've got a bit of a concern about him. New Image has got like a bit of a similar profile to last year's winner Quinault, where had come up through the handicap ranks, had a sequence of a few wins in there, and then had come here off the back of a less than exciting run. It has hung at this course as well, I think, and I don't know, the runs have come here off a lower mark. Like I say, been going up in the ranks, so put me off that one. But one I think I'm going to take like a little bit of a swing at is Rebel Territory for Amanda Perrett and Rab Havlin. Course and distance handicap win here last May. That was with an RPR of 113 on soft ground, but one with any amount of hand. We've touched on the ground at Haydock. It does look like, according to my weather app, Newton Le Willows, that Ascot is due to get a bit of rain. I don't know what the ground will particularly be like. It's good at the moment, but I'd imagine there'll be some ease underfoot. I think it'll be okay racing ground for horses that like all sorts, unless they want it real quick. Ran like pretty well in that race that I talked about with Blueprints, where he ran at Goodwood. That was off of a 470-day break. Now, obviously, horses, when they have a big break, sometimes can bounce, but I think this horse ran well enough there to suggest that was a prep run for him to go and do something. Having been a course and distance winner here the time before, I think he's got a good chance. He is a year older than the current favourite Wizard of Eye, but he's had 7 less runs. I don't think there's much between them in terms of their performance last time out on those RPRs, but I do expect that Rebel Territory is entitled to step forward, having been such a sort of like big layoff. 15 to 2 is the top price at the moment. I was hoping it'd be a little bit bigger than that, but I still think it looks too big. So I'm siding and taking a risk on Rebel Territory.
Rebel Territory, a nice price to boot, though, all the same. Another each way plus race at BetMGM with 4 places on offer. Andrew.
Yeah, Rebel Territory was hugely impressive in winning last year's Victoria Cup by 4 lengths on soft ground, making most. Was due to run at Glorious Goodwood, but they pulled him out because of the fast ground, and then did reappear the other day when I put him up as a bet in my column as a sort of win bet, thinking he might sort of win or finish out the frame, and ran pretty well, as Dave said. But I think he needs it genuinely soft, and I can't imagine them running him, to be honest. If the current good is accurate, I've got 2 mil of forecast between Thursday afternoon and Saturday afternoon, strong winds as well, so he might not even turn up. I'm with the Wizard of Eye. Always going to improve for the switch from Stan Moore's yard to or anybody else's, really, and Charlie Fellows, and one with a lot more in hand than the margin suggested first time out, over course and distance. Next time, found 6 furlongs too sharp, and didn't get going until too late. Still ran an absolute blinder behind Carden and Group 1 company. I think he's got a great chance. There's a sufficient pace in the race. I've been through it all, had a look at the run styles. There's 3 or 4 front runners, although one of those has now got Haley Turner on, so that suggests a change of tactics. But I think the Wizard of Eye is going to take all the beating here.
Oh, you've abandoned Witch Hunter then in our first race up at Haydock, but you've stuck strong then with the Wizard of Eye, who again is another horse that we associate with Andrew in that 7 furlong handicap at Ascot. Right, 150 now, back up to Haydock again. Handicap for the 3-year-olds over a mile 6 at 150. 7-2 the field then in this one for these 3-year-olds, Andrew. So who comes out on top?
Yeah, it's tricky to get away from the head of the market here, I found. I mean, Contacto had 3 runs in handicaps, 2 wins, a 3/4 of a length second when poorly drawn and coming from off the pace at Chester. Master Builder finished better the hold-up horses when 3rd in the Melrose, albeit from a good draw. But the one that I'm going to side with is 3rd favourite in the list I'm looking at, which is Hutchence for Rafe Beckett. First time Visor goes on since he's been blinkered. He's 2 from 2 in the headgear. So first time Visor in handicaps on Perth for Rafe Beckett since 2010. 8 winners from 30 runners, a profit of £31.75. That could be boosted by fun-loving new runs in the 5:20 at Haydock on Thursday. So yeah, I just think Hutchence is the one here. Son of Frank or Rotter Ryan on board. Lots of ticks and lots of boxes.
Lots of ticks and bidding for that hat-trick as well in the first time Visor. Hutchence for Andrew, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good looking race, to be fair, isn't it? I do like these staying handicaps, although I didn't really like the Melrose because I was real keen on Dramatic Star, very fractious before the start of the race. But he wasn't the only horse that didn't seem to run his race that day. I think 4 of the last 5, he was 5-1 favourite. We had Spaceport that was 6-1, like sort of joint second favourite. A couple of 10-1 pokes as well. So I'd be forgiving of a few of those. So I've mentioned Spaceport, who is in here, is someone that I will be happy to forgive. Time will tell whether I'm being an idiot for doing that. But he won his penultimate start off a £6 lower mark than he's running off here, but that was over this trip. The form isn't particularly working out that great that day or from that day, but he ran at Sandown on a day where he was off the front, and I'm pretty sure he was the only horse really well, not necessarily prominent, but I think it was the only horse that was really prominent. He was definitely the only one that made all to go and kick clear at Sandown. So I thought it was quite a good performance in isolation. I know obviously you want to use the form to be frank to make a stronger case, but in this instance I'm happy to treat him in isolation. He's a top price 16-1 for this, which I think is quite big. He's got Daniel Tudhope booked up on board. He's never been bigger than 10-1 since his debut. So like I say, I thought the price looked a little bit too big off the back of the fact that I thought his Melrose run could probably be excused, but obviously it does need to be excused. But touching on that Sandown run, the tactics of going out in front, he was never going to get the chance to do that in the Melrose. There's still plenty of runners in here. There's 10 left, but Highland Bling's already come out. Who knows? We might lose a couple more. So it's a smaller field will probably suit him this time round. And then we've had a couple of winners of this race recently that have been sort of near the top of the weights or have been top weighted. So a couple of years ago, the top rated horse won the race. Last year, Nikib was the 2nd highest rated, but Denmark, if he wasn't a dog, probably would have been able to go and win that day, and he was top rated. So I do think that although we haven't got like a 100 rated type horse in here, and this one's top of the shops at 91, I do think this is a race where class probably can prevail. 16-1 about Spaceport just looks way too big. There are 3 places up for grabs. I'm hoping he can just bomb out like in front with Daniel Tudhope and stay there.
16-1, the joint outsider of the field, Spaceport for Dave in that one.
Sorry, Dave, are you worried about the form of the Muir and Grassic Yard? Because
no,
it's 36 runners and 40 days since the win, since as of Thursday afternoon. Albeit they've had a few plays in the last few days.
Well, but like no, I'd be very similar to Darren on the case of this. That sometimes it might just be they might not have the horses in there. If there's a very known reason, like everything's putting up like Hendo's were a little while back, but they've had a few that have been fairly close. They haven't had any like that many that have been that short a price. Could be the reason why it ran like bad in the Melrose, mightn't it? But 16-1, I'm happy to take a chance.
At 16-1, like I say, every horse has its price then to chance that potential negative, but well deflected back by Dave all the same. Right, we head back to Ascot now for the 210, the Chapel Down Stakes Heritage Handicap for the 3-year-olds. So 3-year-olds again, this time over a mile 4. So the 2 furlongs lesser than the Haydock contest. French Duke is the one who heads the way. King Odyssey, Goodwood Odyssey even second in the betting. So, Dave, who do you like in this one?
Well, I've written as my first line for the introduction for this race that it definitely feels like I'm throwing a few arrows in these handicaps, and Andrew's definitely throwing a few back. So there's another one that's probably going to come out of this one, because this is a harder case to probably make for the horse. It is definitely taking a bit of a swing, but do you remember the London Gold Cup at Newbury where King's Gambit looked like he was thrown in, won the race off a 93, now rated 116. We had Persica that was in behind that's now rated 110, I think, was maybe rated 92 that day. The one that was in between those two was, I mean, Chantilly was in there as well, but we'll side over that one. Poniros was there, ran really well that day, I thought, and looked like it was going to be a potential winner in weight. And now I've talked about the ones that have gone well since then, and I have touched on loosely that Chantilly's gone the other way. Now Poniros has probably looked like he's gone the other way as well. You look at Goodwood Odyssey, that's like vying for favouritism in this race, who's £5 higher from that day, but was well back behind Poniros that day. He's only £3 higher now. So I think there's a little bit in there to say that, look, the line of that form could prove that Poniros is better than Goodwood Odyssey anyway, and he's getting a couple of pounds. But the interesting thing is now, and it is always risky when it happens, he has been gelded. But like Scorpions with your might bite and they're messing about over their fences, I like a Golden Horn that gets gelded, because if you look at three of his best four runners, Trawlerman, Botanic, Tamerlane, they all won first time after being gelded. The other boy that's in the mix for that is Gregory. He hasn't been gelded yet, but he hasn't been winning either, is he? So who knows? And we've obviously got Keys Chorister as well, or Keys Chorister last week, that we talk about potentially shirking. Now, she's a lady, she can't have the same sort of thing done, but I just mean that there are reasons and signs to believe that maybe some of Golden Horn's progeny can be a little bit, I don't know, fractious might be the way to say it. And I think there's a reason to believe that he will improve for the fact of being gelded. So I liked what he did in that London Gold Cup. Yes, he hasn't done things since, but you need something to change if you want a horse's form to turn around, I guess is the best way of saying it. He's 16 to 1 top price. There are a couple of firms offering 4 places. There's only 11 runners in here. I cannot believe he's that sort of price. So I'll take a swing, hopefully not a miss, on Poniros.
Poniros, a nice price again then for Dave, and geld them all. That is the what we're going to take out of this week's podcast, is just geld them. Even the
and if
the
that doesn't work,
fillies.
geld them again.
Yes, exactly. Geld the fillies. Right, Andrew, you're up.
Yeah, interesting race, this one. I mean, it looks like you look at the headgear angle, it looks like a Class 6 handicap at Wolverhampton. 9 of the 11 runners are wearing some sort of headgear. 4 of them are wearing headgear for the first time. Looking through the trends of this race, it does seem quite important to have a middle to high draw. Even in a field of like this with 11 runners, that could be important. And if you look at the 9, I think go back 10 years, 9 renewals, just two winners from 54 runners who were drawn in stalls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So I'll be looking at those drawn a little bit higher. It's Colts has got a good record as well. And sort of, piecing this together, I was sort of coming down on the side of sort of Goodwood Odyssey or French Duke, which isn't particularly exciting from a betting perspective because they're the favourite and the second favourite in the race. I just favour French Duke, but I could mess about with some combination trifectas, I think, on some of those drawn sort of stall 7 or higher, including Dave's Poniros. But it's a tricky old race. The other one of interest was Imperial Sovereign. I was up at York for his last run. I really liked him in the paddock. I thought this was going to run a big race, but of course, turned out he had a bad draw. You had to be low, whatever the distance at York, and he was coming out of sort of 15, I think it was that day. Didn't run badly, finishing 9th. Got a visor on for the first time. Second run since a gelding operation. So, I certainly wouldn't put you off Imperial Sovereign as well. But it's a very tricky race.
16 to 1 about Imperial Sovereign as well, but super tricky. It was just funny watching Dave's face there when Andrew said that Colts have a good record in this. The lower lip just fell from Dave's face. So yeah,
I'm not doing it deliberately. It's
just a subtle dart. That was just a nice subtle dart, which Dave clearly felt in the Chapel Down Stakes then at Ascot. Right, we switch back to Haydock for the 2.25. This one is a tricky one. The Old Borough Cup Handicap 0 to 105 contest. 3-year-olds and over a mile. 6 now. BetMGM. This is another each way plus race. 4 places on offer this time, Andrew. So you're going to utilise that?
Yeah, very much so. It's the kind of race where you can back 2 or 3 quite happily. Some interesting stats associated with this race: source 12 or higher, 0 from 30 in the past 10 years. And interesting, those who were fancied last time out, defined as being in the top 5 in the betting, were just 1 from 61 in this race. All 10 winners ran in a class 2 or 3 handicap. You could back all 106 qualifiers and make a profit. And those who ran, had a recent run within the past 4 weeks, who was sort of 6th or worse in the betting last time out, 8 winners from 50 bets, profit of £47.50. So don't be sort of too taken with that last time out run if they weren't fancied, or they bombed out last time. The ones I was looking at were Epic Poet and Oneforthegutter. Both ran in the E-ball last time out, of course. Epic Poet finishing 4th from a very tricky draw in stall 16, and Oneforthegutter, the one I put up each way, finishing 3rd from a better draw, but still not 100% ideal in stall 10. So I'll split stakes between the pair, but it's another tricky contest.
So many tricky contests. We did tee it up at the start that the set handicaps are going to be really, really tough. Dave, did you find it easier to solve?
No, but speaking of Oneforthegutter, I'm going to tip up Knightswood again. So the viewers will probably be signing off from the show thinking I've finally lost the plot. But I know we've talked about Andrew's 2 select. Well, I say we talked about Andrew suggested they're like his 2 horses are coming from the E-ball, so it's a much better race that they're coming in from than what Knightswood ran in. But it was such a. I know he's like a bit of a character, and obviously we talked about the Geldney ones there, and like talk about horses being a little bit of a rascal. Maybe I just love a bit of a rogue, but I'm prepared to line through that run from Knightswood last time, because he was really sort of keen and messing about early on, which isn't necessarily his want, but being a bit of a rascal, it could happen again, couldn't it? But Joe Fannin, I think, sort of lost interest after that. Just thought to himself, look, we've done a lot too early. We was stepping up in trip to 2 miles for the first time, even though he's run well over 1 mile 6 before, weren't completely and utterly guaranteed to stay. But I just don't think he even bothered with him in the closing stages. He still ended up finishing 7th of 16. I think it was 5 places that day on offer, so he wasn't riding him into the places, but it is what it is. I'm not bitter about that. It's just the fact that the horse did not run to his best potential that day, which again, being a bit of a rascal, may happen again. But given the fact that he still managed to finish 7th of 16, there's unfinished business with this horse. We'll remember his Goodwood run a couple of starts back where he was a bit of an eye catcher. I still remember the run behind Iron Lion, which was at Haydock again, where he stayed on, and I think he looked like he was supposed to be the winner that day. So I still think he's got a race in him. He's 10 to 1. There's 4 places up for grabs, as you touched on right at the start of it. I feel like I could be an idiot for following him again, and as I say, the viewers will probably be able to they will be able to make up their own mind whether they want to go and side with me as well. But I still think that this horse has definitely got a race in him, and it may have just been that the last day he just didn't like the course, whatever it was. He just didn't want to be on a going day because he didn't look like he was on a going day. So fingers crossed, back at Haydock, Knightswood's going to get his head in front finally.
Okay, right. So, I mean, to be fair, I did think you had lost the plot for a second, but you have well reasoned then in the end. Very nicely done there, Dave, at good old Haydock. Right, we're switching to the all-weather now. We're heading to Kempton for the 2:35. This is the Group 3 September Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over a mile 4. Talking of pronunciations, Hamish is heading the way at 15 to 8 favourite. Good old Hamish, the 8-year-old now, Dave. So does he win this back on the all-weather?
No, we don't. No, he doesn't. But the good news is we've been talking about rascals, we've talked about rogue, we've talked about horses to get gelded a lot. I remember coming to Kempton, I think it was 20 quid to get in 2018 when Enable beat Crystal Ocean, taking this in as a prep before going and winning her Arc. I'm pretty sure they had an 80s disco on that night as well. So if you're in the Kempton area, pop down there on Saturday, because it's always a pretty cracking race, isn't it? But we haven't got an Arc winner in here. But we have got Hamish that you've already touched on, or Hamish that's obviously won this race a few years ago. That was 2021. The sad thing is, it's actually probably an easier task for him this time round, because it was Hookham, wasn't it, that apparently didn't breathe very well, made a noise towards the end, but maybe dogged it a little bit. But he was the lowest rated of the 5 in that field, whereas at the moment he actually comes out pretty much on top. However, I think that giving Calpana a stone is going to be nigh on impossible. Now, the last 3-year-old winner we've had of this race was Jack Hobbs, obviously another weapon and an aeroplane of a horse to talk about. But I think there's only been a handful when I've gone back through the record. So we've had Punting that was in 2020, that was behind the 1 to 14 Enable. That was a 200 to 1 poke. We've had a 14 to 1 shot Law and Order in 2017. And then we had Robin of Navin, he was 11 to 2 second. So they're the only 3-year-olds that have tried since. So I wouldn't say that the fact that we haven't had many winners since Jack Hobbs at the age is necessarily a problem. I just think that this horse has got a pretty good chance. I thought Oisin, as much as he's a great jockey, he obviously knows far more than I do, and he probably didn't get it wrong. I thought he gave a bit of a bad ride to her in the Ribblesdale. It was only her only try at the trip. Still managed to stay on to finish third, but I think she would have been better suited if she was up with the pace. But again, sometimes I touched on, like with Joe Fannin last time when they're stepping up in trip, sometimes they don't ride them with the confidence that maybe they need to try and eke out the trip. I think that she was like ready winner last time under McDonald, wouldn't she? And he's got the ride again. She has dwelt with the start a few times, which is my only negative about her. I just think the 100 to 30 about her when you're looking at how many she's not necessarily too old to win it, but maybe too old to win it. And then Lion's Pride, who does deserve to be favourite, but deserves to be favourite on what he did last season on the all-weather at Kempton. I know loads of Gosdens need their run sometimes this season, but first run of the season over 1 mile 2 at this track was nowhere near good enough to be favourite. Would have had to improve for that, and the last 2 runs suggest that Lion's Pride hasn't improved since that first run. So look, I talked about Enable coming and winning this race, and the Gosdens have been targeting races and they're getting wins, aren't they? So probably is the right favourite and could make me look a little bit stupid, but I don't know how they're going to give so much weight to Kalpana, so I'll take a little bit of a chance on her.
Kalpana, 100 to 30, third favourite, then behind Hamish and Lion's Pride. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, really tricky. So, as you said, Hamish has won this before. He did bomb out on his only subsequent Kempton run. That was later the same year, but he came after a fairly recent outing after a couple of weeks in listed company. We know he goes well fresh. He's had a couple of months off the track. That will help. There's a few of them would like to come from off the pace here, like Hamish and One Smooth Operator. But hopefully we're going to get a decent pace. Semhan or Kemhan, course expert who tends to go from the front, should run a good race. He seems to go well fresh, so the break shouldn't be a problem for him. Lion's Pride tends to race prominently, as does Kalapana, whose 2 all-weather runs have produced a win and a second to Inish Sharon, both on to Peter. God's Window, I did contemplate why God needs a window if he's all-seeing and all-knowing. I went down a theological rabbit hole there. So I might just chance Kemhan in the hope that he's allowed to do his own thing on the front end, but I didn't have a strong opinion at all.
A nice price as well, 8 to 1 about Kemhan. I know God's Window. I always think, is it some sort of reference like God's waiting room or what? Like I was trying to always make the connection of what the name actually meant though. But yeah, you're going to leave me down a rabbit hole as well now, Andrew. And who needs form study when we're just trying to figure out the meanings of names? Right, that was the September Stakes at Kempton. We're going to switch back to Haydock again now for the 3 o'clock 0 to 105 handicap. 3-year-olds and over. This time over 5 furlongs. So sprinters to the 4. Andrew, who wins?
Very good question. I'm going to go with Jumbo for Tom Clover. The yard's been flying at the moment, despite the fact that she's not been the easiest to win with. I'll probably put her up as an each-way play. Fillies have got a good record in this race. Only 10 runners in the last 10 years. Three of those ones. The fillies who started in the front 3 in the betting produced 3 winners. So yeah, I thought, say Jumbo, given the form of the yard, given the record of fillies in the race, Holly Doyle on board, could give us a run for our money each way. Chagrin are looking for Linda, represent that York form behind JM Jungle in the Symphony Stakes. But both were well drawn, both had low draws that day, could only finish 3rd and 5th. So maybe they don't deserve to be quite as short as they are in the betting at the moment. And Night on Earth is worth a favourable mention, although the ground might be a bit slow for him. Ian Williams has got a really good record when running last time out winners quite quickly in handicap company, and 20 to 1 is fair, I think, if the ground dries out.
Okay. Right then, so a few ways to play that. God's Window is a tourist attraction in South Africa. Sorry, Andrew, I was paying attention to what you were saying, but not really. I was mainly looking up God's Window and the beautiful images that go with God's Window as well in South Africa. I'm not going to try and pronounce the location that it's in because I will fail in that. Dave, how do you play this?
I think I'm going to have to play 2, which is very reserved, but we've got 9 races. If I chuck in 2, then that means I've got 10 horses running for me this weekend, or who knows, I may have 11. I think it's one of the hardest races that we're covering, if I'm honest with you. And as much as I've just poo-pooed Oisin on another ride, I actually thought the jockey booking of him on Chagrin looked quite sort of stand out. He ran well at York when I don't think too many of Mick Appleby's actually did run that well. I didn't expect Shagran to run as well as he did. He stayed on, sort of got switched a little bit for room, but I don't think any of that was like him traveling faster than the horses in front. I just think it was the camera angle make it look more than it is. So I think he's got a chance, but I don't see how he reverses the form with Looking for Linda. And then obviously between those two was the Beverly Bullet winner from last weekend, Democracy's Dilemma. So the race can't have come too soon, shouldn't have left its mark on either of those two. I know it's a very silly, safe way to play it, but their bottom price 4-1 and 5-1 Shagran and Looking for Linda. So if you had 55% of your stake on Shagran and 45% of it on Looking for Linda, it will pay about 7-4. It is obviously Saturday race and it's more for an interest than a real strong fancy, but I'd play the pair.
Play the pair of those two as well then. So yeah, really tricky contest there, as the lads have outlined for the 3 o'clock at Haydock. 3:15 now at Kempton, back on the all-weather again. The London Mile Series final handicap, as it says in the name, it is a series final. 3-year-olds and over a mile then in this one. Kilt is the one who heads the way at about 7-2 then, as I can see before me. This is another each way plus race, so BetMGM with 4 places on offer. So again, Dave, does that interest you?
I mean, it does. I wasn't looking for the 4 places, but it is going to change, not necessarily change the way I bet, but it's going to help the way that I'm going to bet the winner in here, because I've thrown in a few big prices, haven't I? But Kilt is a very worthy favourite. We have got 14 runners in here, and yes, it being a series qualifier, you might have a few potential little plots in there, but I think 4-1 top price, as you say, there's 4 places up for grabs, just looks like the biggest safety blanket you could ever find. Now, I've noticed, I'm sure everyone's seen it before, but I've noticed even more so recently that William Haggis is an absolute genius in many ways, but no better way than having a horse at the start of the season that doesn't fulfill its potential and then switching targets, making a plan and absolutely nailing that plan. And the horse I'm going to use for a quick, easy reference for that is Elmondjed, who won the Sprint Series final at Windsor. Sent him there, got beaten favourite conveniently, dots up, and then he came out and won again since, didn't he? So I think it looks like he's going for redemption with Kilt. And when I say redemption, this time last year, he had Cathab, favourite for the race, who just got beat, ran in the same qualifier as Kilt ran in this year, but Cathab actually had a run in between. So I think, obviously, it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. He's learned from that mistake, kept this horse relatively fresh for it. I think the 4-1 just looks like a bit of a gift. And as I say, the fact that you can get 5th of the odds 4 places is a bit of a safety net. I don't see how this horse is out of the frame. I know I've been bullish and confident with lots of each way ones that haven't necessarily come to fruition. So it wouldn't be like the biggest each way bet I've ever had, but I think I'm finally going to come good on one. I think Kilt wins this.
Oh, very confidently down about Kilt then heading the way, but with the each way plus option then for you as well. It's that little bit of a safety net then, as Dave said. Andrew, are you as bullish?
Dave, are you in the crease ready with your backs? I'm about to bowl one. Since 2012, 3-year-olds 0 from 32 in this race. You'd expect 3.2 winners based on that. That said, Mr. Haggis, Bill, has had 2 in the race. He's 7-2 second and a 16-1 third, so both have ran well. But if Kilt does finish an unlucky in running second, and you go on tilt because of Kilt, you can back Tilted Kilt in the 3:45 at Kempton. So there's your coincidence each way double for the day. The interesting stat about this race is the draw. And traditionally in this race, they tend to go too. When you used to get 16 runners in it, used to go way too fast and set it up for something coming late and wide down the middle of the track, who would get a clear run. And in the last 10 renewals, when there's been 12 or more runners, you could back every runner drawn 12 or higher. Has found 6 of the 10 winners and made a profit of £60.50. So whereas you might not like those wide draws normally over a mile at Kempton, don't sort of be too despondent this time around. Now the one I like is Talis Evolver, who was a big eye catcher in the Spring Cup at Newbury earlier this season. When finishing third to Metal Merchant, was 22-1 that day. Only got beaten a length and a bit, and they went hard up front. The winner, the runner-up, came from well off the pace, and Talis Evolver did best of those who were ridden prominently. Now, Hannon's only had, I think, 3 runners in this race who were who were 4-year-olds or older and had already been gelded, and they sort of produced 2 winners and a second at 18-1. So I like the yard in the race. I'm quite happy with the stall 10 draw. He's got all-weather form. He's a course and distance winner, so back on the sand for the first time in a while. I think he's going to run a really big race. Palace Evolve each way.
12-1 as well for Talus Evolve for Richard Hannon, and a 4-year-old as well then. So yeah, that was quite a blow then with that bowl today, Andrew, from you. But Dave bidding to buck that trend then, and as we said, he's got the each way alternative part of the bet as well to go to war with. Right, we're going to sign off this part of the show with the 3:35 at Haydock, the feature race itself, the Group 1 Betfair Spring Cup, 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. Now Inisherin and Elite Status, both in the Sheikh Mohammed Obeid Al Maktoum colours, are at the head of the market. Inisherin just shading it though in terms of favouritism, Andrew. So is that justified?
Possibly. I mean, draw wise, there was a monster buys in this race last year when we had a similarly big field.
Yeah.
If you weren't drawn high and didn't race centre to stand side, you didn't have a prayer. Now you look at that race last year, the first 3 home on the far side of the track were the 5th place Cardam, who went on to win in Group 1 company this year. 6th was Millstream, second best of the far side Group 1 winner this year, and the 7th was Anaf. 3rd best of his group was 66-1 that day, rated 106. He's won 3 of his 4 subsequent starts, including a Group 2, albeit over in, I was going to say Sweden. It wasn't Sweden, was it? Was it somewhere else? Might be back to South Africa or something like that. But yeah, so the draw had a massive impact last year. Will it have a similar impact this year? We don't know. It makes it very hard to play at this stage. In the absence of that information, I was looking at Anaf. He's £8. He's improved £8 according to the official handicapper since that good run from a bad draw last year. He's been nibbled out from 25 into 16 since the final declarations came out. Stall 12 should be fine on last year's evidence if the similar bias is in place. The ground was officially good that day. That's what we could be dealing with come Saturday. So I'll go Anaf each way.
16-1 about Anaf in this one, a 5-year-old horse, Mick Appleby and Russell Ryan in the plate. And this is another each way plus race for 4 places on offer as well, BetMGM, Dave. So another each way plus race for you.
It is another each way plus race. We've got 16 of the potential 17 here, haven't we? It just makes me sad because horse number 17 should have been Van Dijk, shouldn't he, if he hadn't been retired?
Yeah.
He was best of the 3-year-olds in that July Cup. So I do respect like Inisherin Elite Status running well at the front for the owner, but I'm dead against him. Andrew touched on the race last year, high draw and where horses were racing from. I can't believe how well Swing Along did, considering she had to do everything on her own on the near side, which is fine. It just proves that she doesn't need to be towed into a race like a lot of other horses were. And I've talked about that July Cup as well. She was in front of Inisherin that day, and she also was given some weight. So the swing around now is that she's got a few pounds better off. Like I think she's £4 better off, in fact, with Inisherin. I don't see how that horse reverses the form. I know it's a 3-year-old entitled to keep improving, but you look at what Swing Along did in this race last year. It was 4th, wasn't too far off. That was a season high RPR last year, or even a career high. I think it was 109. Next time out when ran at Ascot behind Art Power, did a 108, so confirmed that it was no fluke, but had a prep run at the beginning of this season. I would class it as a prep run because it was a little bit underperforming. But the 2 runs since, both in Group 1s, has been beaten half a length and then a neck, and both those RPRs are much higher. So I think it's 114 and 116. So on those figures alone, she's £7 better off than she was in the race last year, I think, in terms of a better horse. She's got an okay draw again because we touched on the fact that high might be fine. She can do things. If she's getting the toe into the race, she'll be all right. If she has to go on her own, she can do that too. And she does seem to be seeing out her races better now. For a horse that goes out in front and can make the hard yards, she seems resilient in the finish. And I think that is a big testament to lots of the fillies out there. As much as I give them a bash every now and again for their trustworthiness, when you've got a gutsy one that doesn't want to lay down, then that is a massive positive. So I think she's finally going to get a Group 1 win. 8-1 about her looks decent. I know there's 4 places up for grabs, but given this is a big big race, probably the feature race of the day. Well, it is, isn't it? 16 runners. Shame on you bookmakers. You should be giving us at least 5, and then I could have a healthier bet. What I will do, though, is because it is a big field competitive handicap, or not handicap, big field competitive race, I will have a small saver on Bucanero Forte at 14 to 1, because I think he's going to go off considerably shorter. The race, the Commonwealth Cup, did fall apart, didn't it? Inisherin won that, and I know Bucanero Forte had to miss that last minute, but I don't know. I feel like he would have gone pretty close. He's the highest rated in the field. That Phoenix Stakes win last season is almost as good a form as anything else that's got in this race. I just think the 14th one about him looks too big. So Swing Along would be the main play, but I'll definitely have a couple of quid win dart on Bucanero Forte just in case he comes back to his best form.
Yeah, that's the only question you've got to answer really for Bucanero Fuerte, isn't it? It's just exactly where he is. But from that reappearance success, I know it was only Group 3 company on that reappearance success, but yeah, you'd have to chance that he is still the same horse that he was. But another bit of a layoff, 14 to 1 about him. Swing Along 7 to 1 with BetMGM. So good ways to play the Group 1 contest. Dave, back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else?
No, there is loads of good racing there, even on the other side of the English Sea. I think Sharon's running on Sunday, but I haven't had a good chance to look at everything, so that's as much as I'll say.
Okay, so that is as much as Dave has got for now, though. Andrew?
A quick few to whiz through. Ascot 245, Angel Hunter, who won despite the wide draw at York. Ascot 355, Thackeray Bay, who looked suited by the drop back to 6 when just losing out to Air Gold Cup winner Sergeant Wilco at St Goodwood last time. Ascot 505, Good Earth, last week's winning nap, running up a sequence over a stiff 5 furlongs that could go well again. And finally, Kempton 420, Radio Goo given a brainless ride in the Great St Wilfred when drawn low and switched to the near side, but used up too much petrol early, and it turned out the far side wasn't that bad anyway.
It wasn't even that bad for Radio Goo in the end, so to make amends for that. And yeah, Dave, you were right that Charon goes in the Prix de Moulin de Longchamp, of course, the Group 1 over a mile at Longchamp on Sunday, so do look forward to seeing him back out again. Right, Andrew, your nap, please, for this weekend.
Good Earth 7 to 1 when I napped him last week. Probably be half that this week, 7 to 2, 505 at Ascot. Next week I'm going to nap him again. It'll be 7 to 4.
Okay, and then we're going again then. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, 7 to 1 nap winning like every week. We don't expect that from you, so we'll still take 7 to 2 at this stage. Dave, your nap.
Oh, I mean, it is definitely hard to actually nap one. I need to pull it out of the fire. I haven't had one for a while, and you guys have been flying. But as much as I've got the saver on Bucanero Forte, I think Swing Along is the winner of the Sprint Cup Stakes.
And a nice price to boot as well then for Swing Along. And I'm just back from Cornwall, so I have just walked in the door, and I unfortunately therefore have not been able to go into depth this week then on the races just yet. So I'm excused from giving my nap this week, so not keeping the momentum rolling from last week at all. That's everything from us though on this week's show. So a big thank you to Dave and to Andrew for all of their hard work as per usual. A big thank you to our sponsor BetMGM. A bigger thank you to you at home for watching. The lads will be back next week. I unfortunately won't be. I'll be back again the week after. So do look after them. Lads, behave yourselves in my absence, and they will speak to you again next week.